As this Tuesday draws to a close, the church places before us a striking vision from the prophet Ezekiel, one that begins quietly and slowly, becomes something powerful and life-giving. Alongside it, Psalm 46 reminds us where true security is found. And later, Bishop Fulton Sheen offers a brief but penetrating insight about the places where temptation often appears. In our Tuesday evening reflection from the Book of Ezekiel, chapter 47, the prophet Ezekiel is brought to the entrance of the temple, and what he notices at first seems small, almost easy to overlook. He says, "I saw water flowing out from beneath the threshold of the temple toward the east." At the beginning, it is only a trickle, something quiet, something that might not appear remarkable at all. But the angel leads him further. The water deepens gradually. First it is ankle deep, then knee deep, then up to the waist. Finally it becomes a river so full that Ezekiel says it is a river through which I could not wade. For the water had risen so high, it had become a river that could be not crossed except by swimming. What began as a small stream flowing quietly from the temple becomes a river that transforms everything it touches. The angel explains what this river does. Wherever the river flows, every sort of living creature that can multiply shall live. For wherever this water comes, the sea shall be made fresh. Even the barren places are changed. Even the salt waters become fresh. And along the banks of the river, Ezekiel sees trees everywhere. Trees that never fade, never fail, always bear fruit. The angel says, "Their fruit shall serve for food, and their leaves for medicine." It is a powerful image of how God works, because the transformation begins in the sanctuary. The water flows from the temple, the place of God's presence. And from there, it spreads outward until everything it touches begins to live again. Often the work of grace begins the same way in our lives, quietly, almost unnoticed. A prayer whispered in the morning, a small act of forgiveness, a moment of patience when we could have reacted harshly. These things can seem small at first, but grace rarely arrives all at once. It deepens slowly, step by step, just like the water Ezekiel waded through. Ankle deep, knee deep, then even deeper. Little by little, the presence of God reshapes our interior life. The psalm the church gives us tonight echoes the same confidence. We pray, "God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in distress. Therefore, we fear not, though the earth be shaken and mountains plunge into the depths of the sea." Life can feel unsteady. Circumstances shift, plans unravel. The ground beneath us may not always feel firm. But the psalm reminds us where stability truly comes from. The Lord of hosts is with us. Our stronghold is the God of Jacob. That is not just a comforting phrase. It is a truth the church has repeated for centuries that continues to prove itself again and again. And then the psalm introduces a striking image that mirrors Ezekiel's vision. There is a stream whose runlets gladden the city of God, the holy dwelling of the Most High. Once again, the presence of God is described as water flowing through his dwelling place, bringing life and peace. This matters because the world often tells us that strength comes from control, controlling circumstances, controlling outcomes, controlling every detail of life. But the scriptures tonight show us something very different. Strength comes from allowing the life of God to flow where it will. Grace is not something we manufacture. It is something we allow. It grows quietly in prayer, in faithfulness, in small daily acts of trust. And sometimes we do not realize how deeply it has changed us until we look back and see that what once overwhelmed us no longer has the same power. The river has grown deeper. There is also something beautiful in how the vision ends. Those trees along the riverbank never fail to produce fruit. Ezekiel says, "Every month they shall bear fresh fruit, for they shall be watered by the flow from the sanctuary." When life is connected to the source of grace, fruit appears naturally. Tonight the invitation is simple. Stay near the source. Remain close to the presence of God, in prayer, in the sacraments, in full trust, and allow His grace to deepen little by little. Even if it feels small at first, even if it feels like only a trickle, the Lord knows how to turn small beginnings into rivers of life. Hello friends, it's Aaron. If you're new here, welcome to the Sacred Heart family, where we pray together, walk with the saints, and reflect on the gospel every day. Remember to subscribe and click the notification bell. It's free and helps us stay connected. And if this reflection brings you peace tonight, click the like button and share it with someone you love. As we prepare our hearts for rest, we now turn to the wisdom of Bishop Fulton Sheen. Life's temptations come most often from that which one has the greatest aptitude. Bishop Sheen had a remarkable way of saying something simple that makes us stop and think. We often imagine temptation arriving in obvious places, areas where we feel weak or unprepared. But Sheen reminds us that temptation often approaches from the opposite direction. It comes through the very things we are naturally good at. The gifts we have, the strengths we carry, the abilities that come easily to us. A person who is gifted with intelligence may be tempted toward pride. Someone who is naturally generous may struggle with subtle forms of control. A person who works hard may slowly begin to rely more on their effort than on God's grace. The enemy rarely wastes time attacking what we already know is fragile. More often, temptation whispers into the places where we feel confident. This is not meant to discourage us. In fact, it can help us grow in humility. Our talents are real gifts from God. The church celebrates them, and they are meant to be used generously in the world. But they were never meant to replace dependence on the Lord. Even the best abilities still need grace. When we remember that, something healthy happens in the soul. Gratitude replaces pride. Vigilance replaces complacency. And our gifts remain what they were always meant to be: tools for service rather than the sources of self-reliance. So tonight, we place our gifts and talents back into the hands of God so that they become part of that same river Ezekiel saw flowing from the temple, bringing life wherever it goes. I invite you to share your intentions in the comments of the video so that the Sacred Heart family may walk with you in faith and charity. Please join me in our Catholic evening prayers uniting our hearts with the Church's March devotion to St. Joseph. You can click the link in the center of the screen now, and I'll see you there. God bless.